Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc., the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and your co-host, Ron, SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. with your host, Ron SteelFlyers. How you doing, everybody? And let me tell you something, folks. We got a very, very special guest sitting in here with us today, folks. That's right. From NBC Sports Philadelphia, the voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, Mr. Jim Jackson. How you doing, Jim?
Doing great, Steel. How are you?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. I'm doing great. Got a lot of stuff to get into here with a great friend of the show, Jim. And, man, we really appreciate you hopping on here, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Always great to talk Flyers hockey with you.
Awesome. And we are going to get into some Flyers hockey, though, that's for sure. By the way, if you like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe, man. We really appreciate that. Also, we really appreciate lowercaseblues.net. Hop on over to lowercaseblues.net. Thank them guys for the awesome intro music. Go check out that website. They got some tour dates. They got some swag and some great videos. Go check out lowercaseblues.net. Thank you very much for Jake and the boys and getting us that great music. Thank you. All right, Jim, here we go. Now, we're on a break. It's not quite the all-star break. Well, I guess maybe you could call it an all-star break, maybe.
It's in place of it.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about that first, since we are kind of on the Four Nation break. Let's call it that. Right? Four Nation break?
That's what it is.
Okay. So what do you think about the game so far? I mean, overall, the games that have been aired and played so far, what are your thoughts on the games played so far?
Oh, it's been great. I mean, it's best on best. It's also teams thrown together. So you have some lack of cohesion, but you see the skill. You see the desire. There were those who were fearing that this would be a glorified all-star game. They were wrong.
Right.
No fears there. And you got USA, Canada for the whole thing. So I think it's been a well done tournament. It's strange scheduling a little bit. They won one and 2 games, skipped 2 games, then skipped 2 days more for the championship game. But bottom line is everyone's looking forward to that championship game. The first matchup between Canada and US was great. The ratings show that people really care about this. So it's been good.
Well, when it's the only hockey that you get to watch for the next, 10 days or whatever, then yeah, I guess it's probably going to be pretty highly rated.
Yeah, but the Stanley Cup Finals are the only hockey that's available, and this has been better than any Stanley Cup Final game, I think, since 2014. I read. So, I mean, it comes back to the patriotism, I think, a little bit.
Yep.
The country, U.S., Canada, both in the finals now. So, I mean, Canadians will watch no matter what. It's their sport. But in the U.S., if the U.S. had lost, let's say, their first game, it probably would have dropped off some. But they didn't lose and they won, and then they won again. And so, they lost to Sweden in a game that they didn't really mean much, and they had several players out. So I think it's been well received and obviously a great appetizer for the Olympics, which will be more teams at different times of the day.
Hopefully.
With not probably the same electricity in terms of the crowd that you saw in Canada and in Boston,
Yeah.
but the Olympics are the Olympics. There's something special about the Olympics just by themselves. So,
Right.
And then they've already made plans for the World Cup of Hockey after that 2 years.
Really
So
like that
we now
idea.
have an established schedule of best on best, and that's the way it should be.
I agree. And we here at the Hockey Writers Inc. are all on board with the World Cup of Hockey. We think that's a great idea. If they open it up a little bit to not just the all-stars. Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand it. Well, what I mean by that is, like, you need to sprinkle in a couple more, or maybe, I mean, I guess I'm trying to say I'd like to see some of the younger guys get in as well too. More of the national Olympic type team instead of like this four nation type thing for
Yeah,
the
that's not
World
going to
Cup.
happen. Yeah, the only
You
way you're
know?
getting the NHL. Well, I mean, there are going to be some teams. I mean, I'm sure if there's a team from Germany, I mean, you're going to have Leon Draisaitl, but you're also going to have to fill that team out with players who are not in the NHL. So you will have some non-NHL players in the Olympics. But you know, when you're talking about USA and Canada, Finland, maybe one or two, Sweden, those are going to be mostly NHL players because it is
Right, I
best
agree.
on best.
Okay. Okay. No, I was just curious as to what you thought of how that would go down or, whatever the case is.
I
And
mean, really, Ron, it goes one way or the other with this. You either get best on best and sacrifice that amateur, which seems to be a thing of the past now. Anyhow, I mean, not even the NCAA is amateur anymore. So,
right.
I mean, the amateur, the aura of it, the 1980 team, and all that is kind of gone. So, if you're really holding out for that, you're just not going to get the best on best.
Yeah,
I think
no.
I
Yeah,
think
no.
this Four Nations is showing, how people do react to best on best, and it's been a good reaction. So I think that's where we're headed.
Okay. Okay. No, I was just curious as to how the lay of the land was kind of falling down, how it was going to kind of play out. You know what I mean? I don't really care. I just like watching the hockey. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I saw people say that that was the best 20 minutes of hockey that they've seen in a really long time with that United States Canada game.
It was great. I mean, the three fights got everybody's attention. I personally think they were kind of staged, which staged fights are, whatever. I'm all for fighting. You can just listen to one of my calls to know that. But I don't necessarily think the staged fights do that much. In this case, I think it was interesting because it was kind of all these years of not playing best on best pent up for these two countries, especially, and they let it all hang out. Now, if some people are tagging political uh,
Oh
intonations
no,
on
I'm
it
not.
because of what's going on and all that, I think that's probably overthinking it a bit. I think it was just some players, some guys, especially those Kachuk boys who, they had missed much of their careers playing in best on best and finally getting a chance to do it. And they had a lot of energy and they had to use that energy up somehow. So they
Okay.
dropped the gloves. But beyond the fighting, it was a good game. It was a
Oh yeah,
solid
yeah.
game. I mean, I'm watching these games. I'm not seeing what I saw. The best hockey I think I've ever seen in my life was the Canada Cup with Lemieux, Gretzky on the same line. It's going to be hard to ever top that because the game
Yeah,
then
that's yeah.
was really wide open. This was
Yeah.
prior to the trap coming in and all that. The 80s, high scoring hockey, and some of the best players in the history of the game on the same team. That's to me the benchmark. I don't think this quite got to that stage, but I do think it was quality hockey, great names out there, great players, and the intensity I think is what people really
Yeah.
saw the most, and so it was pretty darn good. And obviously, the ratings speak for themselves. People watched, and if people watch, you're going to get more of it.
Obviously.
That's a definite.
That's a tried true TV philosophy there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you get the ratings, yeah, you're gonna see more of that. So for sure,
yeah.
for sure. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Really like the Four Nations. Really have enjoyed what they've put out there, and really feel that if that's how it's headed, I got no problems with that at all. I don't mind seeing best on best. I think that gives you that opportunity. I mean, I know you're going to lose that, what you talked about, that amateur kind of feel where you might get some of the, younger college players or, the national team, whatever you want to call it. But look, that's what the Olympics are for the most part. Now that the NHL is going to be involved in the Olympics, like you said, some of the other countries are going to have some of those other players that are, there's not a lot of German players. There's not a lot of, Japanese players or Italian players or, other countries that are going to field the team. So,
Yeah,
okay.
the
I
bigger
just want to,
question really is going to be Russia, and it doesn't look like they're going to be part of it. Maybe they're part of it under a new name.
Right.
But that would be nice from a hockey standpoint. I don't want to get into the
Yes.
politics of it,
Right.
but from a hockey standpoint, it would be great to see Ovechkin get into one more Olympics, and some of the great young Russian players, maybe even a Michkov, to participate in that. So that's the question that's out there. It doesn't seem like they're leaning toward having them, but a lot can change in a full year. So we'll see.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I think might potentially be part of what's going on here. I mean, look, there's so much stuff going on, but I agree. I think it would be nice to at least find a way to get some of those other players involved in this tournament somehow, some way. So, okay, all right. I just wanted to get your take on what you thought about the whole Four Nation tournament, and I'll tell you what, I think we both agree that it's all pretty good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty good.
looking forward to that championship game.
You got it for sure. So, something near and dear to your heart, there, Mr. Jim Jackson, is the broadcasting school that you do, and I know you've been really busy here with, especially with the break going on here and everything like that. And tell us a little bit about what's going on with your school and kind of what you're doing with it. I know you had a bunch of group sessions over the summer and things of that nature. So, and I know you have some great success stories.
Yeah, it's been great. I started it during the COVID outbreak in 2020. Got some extra time when the Phillies parted ways with me. So I just started thinking I'd get a couple here, a couple there, but I'm over 100 now, well over 100. And it's just been great. It's very rewarding. It's 3 one-on-one sessions. The one-on-one part of it is one-on-one Zoom sessions. Includes talking about broadcast fundamentals, finding your niche in the business, preparation, all kinds of different things. And I tailor make each session to that person. It's not just for play-by-play. It's for sideline reporters, anchors, talk show hosts, podcasters, you name it. Anything to do with broadcasting and sports, I'm certainly willing to work with a person. And so I tailor make it to what their dream or what their focus is in their position. And then afterwards, I'm available as a mentor for as long as they want. That's been the real rewarding part of it, staying in touch with a lot of these kids, helping them if they are making job pitches and so forth, always willing to help them in that regard. And seen a lot of kids and guys and gals move up, which has been great. We've got about 7 ECHL play-by-play guys right now and 4 AHL guys, and one's gone up to the NHL, and I've got another guys in CBS Sports, and it's great. And then in the summer, when I have more time, I'll usually open it up to group Zooms. We can call them camps, but it's still via Zoom, and
Right.
it's a little less expensive, but it's obviously not one-on-one anymore. It's I usually limit it around 20. And I go over much the same stuff, but it's all in one day. And then I give them reduced rates on one-on-ones after that. Anybody who does my program also, if I feel it will help them and if it's feasible, given where they live and so forth, can shadow me for a Flyers game. And so there's all kinds of little side things too, but the gist of it is the 3 sessions one-on-one, and we go over a lot of great stuff. And it's conversational. It's not me just sitting here talking. It's back and forth, and it's been just great. I sent out an email just before the holidays to everybody that I had talked to or had as a student, unless it was somebody I just talked to. But I sent the email out and said, "Hey, let me know what you're doing," because there's some that have kind of disappeared on me. And it was great to hear from everybody and see what everybody's doing. So it's been very rewarding. I plan on continuing to do it, maybe even into retirement, and we'll see where it goes. But at this point, it's been a lot of fun. And
I hope
JimJacksonBroadcasting.com, that's where you would go to
look.
look for the information.
You beat me to it, so
yeah. And there's very, very basic description of the program there. If you have more questions, there's an email address on the website. You can certainly send me an email. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
And by the way, the link to the school will be in the description here of the show.
Sure.
So
Excellent.
feel free to hop on over to that link there and get signed up. Because I got to tell you, coming from somebody who did sign up for Jim's one-on-one courses and was thrilled and honored to be able to learn next to one of the greats out there, as far as I'm concerned. He's exactly right. He is the person that you see is the person that he is, and he tells it to you straight and gives you the answers that you need in order to be successful. And uh, I have followed a lot of your advice, Jim, and it's been very fruitful. So thank you very much for what you're doing with the school, man. I really appreciate that as a former fellow student.
Yeah, one of my early students. But yeah, I certainly appreciate that. It's great to see what you've done with your podcast and all the different things you have going on. So yeah, it's been fun.
Exactly. And we get to I mean, I've admired your broadcasting style from since the very first time I ever started following the Flyers hockey, and you were the voice along with uh, Dorney, Dornhofer, and Steve Coates, and I always remember you guys had such great chemistry and such great banter, and it was always just fun to listen to you guys do the games. And even now, when you're with your partner now, Boucher, um, Boosh has been great. Really enjoy listening to you guys going back and forth with each other. It's great listening to you guys call the game. So really appreciate your work in that as well too. And um, I know there's something else too that's very near and dear to your heart too, Jim. And I would like to talk about this as well because I think this is a very important near and dear to your heart, and that's Alex's Lemonade stand and what you have been able to accomplish with them as part of their advisory board and things of that nature, and what you've been able to do with the groups of people that you've had to the games and how the Flyers have just embraced that. I mean, this was a, a great story about a young girl that didn't just save money for her own chemo treatment, she saved money for everybody else's. And how much money now has the foundation raised?
Well, last check it was over 300 million. I think it's closing in on 350 million. So it's just been tremendous. Liz, Scott, Alex's mom, and Jay, her dad, they just took this and ran with it. I met Alex, actually invited the family to a Flyers game when she was undergoing some of her treatments. And then, I started doing baseball and I was busy 365 days a year, and 14 years go by, and unfortunately, of course, Alex passed. But
Yeah.
it was I checked back in with the foundation, and it's like, wow, at that point it was like 200 million. And it's like, this is taking off. And I was looking for something to get involved with late in my career. I want to give back. I want to be involved that way. And this was the perfect way. And then they were kind enough after about a year to invite me to join the advisory council. So very honored to be on that. We created what we call our Flyers Press Pass that you alluded to. You have a once a month. It's going to be a little more than once a month there down the stretch, because we had a family, unfortunately, who had the patient had to go back into the hospital, so we missed one this year. So we're making that back up. But
Okay.
basically, once a month, we have a family that has been affected by pediatric cancer in some way, either in the past or present. And we basically invite them to the game, and the Flyers have been so good with this. They basically make it a great night for the family. They get the kids to ride the Zamboni before the game. They
Right.
see Gritty. They're given great seats to the game. They come up and visit us in the booth. They can listen to the broadcast, listen to the producer and everything as we call the game. They get to check out Arena Vision 3601 South Broad there that runs the
Wow.
scoreboard, and a
Right.
tour of the building. And it's just great. And that was really where it started. I wanted to in some way help that way. And so we started with that, and then they invited me to be on the advisory council. And they have so many events. They have the chefs day where they have all this great food they bring in down in the Navy Yard. It's unbelievable. They have the lemon ball. There's a documentary coming out on the whole story fact,
Oh, wow.
the premiere, I'm unfortunately going to be on the road for that. Wanted to see it, but the premiere is coming up, so you can look for that. I'm sure it'll be available on social media. The whole story, Alex's story, and
Wow.
I know I've seen a lot of coverage of it, stories on it, not a full
Yeah.
documentary, and almost everyone brings tears. So I'm expecting to have to have the tissue ready
Yeah.
for the watching that. But
Yeah.
it is sad, obviously, because Alex is gone, but it's also so inspiring because of, you talk about a legacy. We all want to have a decent legacy. Here's a girl who at 4 years old was already smart enough to realize that there were a lot of other people going through what she was going through, and so she wanted to start a lemonade stand to raise money for them. And she said, I want to raise at least $1 million before I pass away. Once she was given her bad diagnosis, and she made it,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they've gone 300,000 fold since. So it's just a great effort. Hoping that with all the changes that have been happening here over the last month or two, research has been a little bit tougher now to get funded and so forth. Hoping that we can continue to make strides toward getting rid of childhood cancer, all cancer for that matter.
Yeah.
But also the money goes towards supporting these families too. So it's kind of twofold in terms of where that money goes,
Right.
and it's always in the right direction. So just a great effort. Very proud to be part of it.
And it's a great great organization. The link for Alex's Lemonade Stand will be also in the description as well too. So please hop on over to that link as well too, and check that out, and feel free to donate or whatever your heart feels that you need to do. By all means, really would appreciate that.
Every dollar
So
helps.
every dollar helps, exactly. But all right, so now let's talk about some Flyers. What do you think? Finally,
Sounds good.
okay. So now that the Flyers are on a break, we've had a couple of injuries. We've had some time to rest. We've had some other things happen. We've had the trades that Danny Briere did. We finally got to see one of the trade players play in a game before the break. I'm expecting the other player to be available this coming Saturday.
I would hope, but
I mean,
with what's going on with the
you know.
visas and stuff, I don't know. But yeah, I would hope that Peltier is going to be ready.
Okay, so I know we've had some additions and we've also had some subtractions, um, but the one thing that I think I want to really just kind of zero in on a couple of things actually. The first thing is this: a goalie solution. I mean, do we finally have two goalies now with Sam Erison and Fedotov? I mean, are we? It looks like that's going to be the two horses are going to ride at least until the end of the season. Now, when they sent Alexei down.
Yeah, they called him back up. He went down to play some games and then came back up. I don't know where that's going to go. We'll find that in terms of when they resume play. That answer will be coming soon. Sam Erison's the number one, always was. It's just a matter of can he stay healthy, and he certainly was leading up to the Four Nations break. Played very well for Sweden in
Oh boy.
beating Team USA, so I think that'll boost his confidence. I've always felt he's a number one as long as he can show he can hold up getting a lot of starts over a long period of time. We haven't quite seen that yet this year because he has had three separate injuries. So we'll see down the stretch here. I'm sure they're going to lean on him. Fedotov's done enough, I think, to show that he can be a backup. He has gone a long time between victories, but his play ever since the first three games, which were really subpar, since then he's been relatively good. And really with Kolosov, we don't know. This is a 23-year-old goalie. That's a baby for a goalie. So
Yeah.
he's got plenty of athletic ability. He's got potential for sure. I think with both Fedotov and Kolosov, we're really jumping at not the what's the word I'm looking for? Jumping to characterize what they are real quickly.
Yes.
Because they've got a lot going on coming over from Russia, especially Kolosov. And neither of them, Fedotov can speak the language. which certainly helps. But it's
Big
still
time.
neither of them have experience in this league, and it's a totally different game for goalies. There's so much more traffic, the rink size, all these things. So they're going through huge adjustments. So I think we need to sit back a little bit before we say, oh, he's not an NHL goalie, or he's never going to be an NHL goalie. I mean, you just don't know yet. I know Fedotov's he's not young. He's in his late 20s, but he's still inexperienced in this league. So got to give him a little time to adjust. And Kolosov for sure, because he's obviously a
He
young
is
goalie
young, yeah.
on top of being inexperienced in this
Right.
league. So I really
Okay.
think what's best for him is AHL play right now. I'm not sure he agrees with that.
Right.
But I think more games, the better for him at this stage of his career. So for him to sit up here as a third goalie, to me, doesn't really make a lot of sense. But, if he won't agree to be sent down, I don't know if that's the case or not. Then the hand's kind of forced a little bit. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay. We both felt that was a good idea to have him down there to play some of those games, because that's kind of where we think too, because of his age. Fedotov has shown that he's been able to play in a professional league, a la, not the NHL, but has been successful playing in a professional league, a la the KHL, and has also been able to do well and play well there. But it's like you said, the ice is smaller and the speed of the game is faster, especially for goalies, have much less time for reaction. You know what I mean? And in order to get used to that's going to take some time. So the old goalie Lance and I are both on that same page, Jim, where we both feel that the goaltender situation needs to let itself play out, and you need to let these guys take the opportunity to just play and get and learn, because they're still, like you said, they got a lot going on. They're learning the language, they're learning new ice, they're learning the speed, blah 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 blah. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame. All right.
It is. And well, that's basically where they're at. Harrison's going to get most of the games. That means Fedotov will get some games. Are you going to get Kolosov enough games on top of that? Not for my liking, but I don't make those decisions. I think
Right.
that, at this point, minor leagues would be great for him, but if the player doesn't agree, or his agent or family or whatever, they don't agree, then, you have to basically figure out some kind of solution. The solution to this point has been to keep him as a third goalie. And for a while he was the second goalie. But
Right.
at that point, that wasn't a problem. He was still going to play some, but seems as though he's slipped back into the third position now. So I think that situation has to be addressed. We'll see.
Yeah. Okay, I agree. Okay, the next situation that I would like to look at is the power play. Now, this is something that we have talked about on many different shows that we've done together. And we've gotten an injection of Michkov into the lineup. But other than that, it still just doesn't seem like it's. I mean, am I looking at the wrong thing here, Jim?
No, the numbers pretty much tell the story. I mean, they've been at the bottom of the league, the bottom, 3 straight years, and this year they're not quite there. So you could say there is slight improvement, but they're pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty close, and it really isn't. It was a pretty good start that I think has kept them from being right at the bottom. Hey, I'm disappointed. I thought Jamie Drysdale, Matvei Michkov would inject some life into the power play. Certainly, Michkov has shown he has power play skills. They have other players too. This whole theory that they don't have enough high-end players. I mean, Owen Tippett's a high-end player. Travis Konecny's a high-end player. They have others. It's just it just hasn't come together. Is it the system they're using? Is it how they're putting the players out there? I don't know. I'm not an expert enough to know, but the old saying about insanity. I mean, this would be the 4th straight year right near the bottom. So something would have to change. The personnel has changed. I mean, when this streak started, Claude Giroux was running the power play.
I mean,
and he was one of the top power play players in his generation, in his era. So I don't know how much of it's personnel. I don't know what it is, but it just hasn't come together for them. Last year, they said part of the problem was they were just moving too many players around. They didn't set on certain guys. So this year they went in, and early in the year they stuck with a certain group for quite a while, and it started well, but then tailed, and then eventually they started making changes again. You have to, and it just has not come together. It's a point of frustration for everybody. So I don't have any answers. If I did, I'd be getting paid more, and I'd be on the ice. I think.
Closer to the ice, maybe.
I just don't know. I don't know what is wrong. I mean, sometimes it's entries, other times it's the net front isn't right. Other times they're just not shooting enough. Other times they're shooting too much into blocks. It's never the same thing. It doesn't seem like, but it just hasn't been good since very early in the season.
Okay. So that's what we're adding to Danny Briere's laundry list of things that he needs to take care of in the offseason. And that's,
but I don't know. I mean, they added a phenomenally talented player in Michkov. Drysdale's supposed to be a guy who runs power plays from the point. They already had some players. TK's certainly capable as a power play performer, and others. I mean, is it a player that needs to be added? I don't know. I mean, they've had a lot of different players, Steel, over the last 4 years on the power play, and it hasn't worked with any of them. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't know at this point. It's a mystery. Just has not come together. It's impossible to be a playoff team with a power play that's at the bottom, unless you're a team that's not allowing any goals, like has great goaltending.
right.
One of the top defensive
We don't
teams
have
in the
that
league.
either.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to get more contributions from your power play for sure.
Okay. So we have been, this has been a point of contention for, like you said, I mean, we're on 4 years in a row now, with this, and something's got to give. We've had players from Giroux to Couturier to now Michkov to TK to Owen Tippett to Tyson Forster. I mean, it seems to me like you need to change the system and the philosophy rather than the players.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's changed too. The first year of the 4 was not this coaching staff. It was a totally different coaching staff. So there is no constant through the course of these 4 years. There's no constant coach. There's no constant assistant coach that's been running the power play. There's no constant players. I mean, TK's been there the whole time, but I don't think you're looking at him as the problem.
Right.
So it's just it's been mystifying and frustrating, but you hope that something's going to turn it around at some point.
Okay. Because like you said, you're not going to be able to be any type of contention if you don't have at least a mid-pack or better power play unit.
We said that at the beginning of the year. One of my reasons for saying this team could compete for a playoff spot was I expected the power play to be improved. I didn't expect it to be at the top of the league, but maybe in the middle of the pack or as high as like 20th. Even that much of an improvement would be a lot more goals for the cause. And also, as John Tortorella points out a lot, it's not even that they aren't scoring. It's that the momentum of the game changes in the other direction quite a few times with the power play. They'll be playing pretty well 5-on-5, get a power play, and then can't get set up, can't get in the offensive zone. They lose their mojo there, and the other team actually gets a boost of momentum. So that's when a power play is hurting you more than helping, and that's probably where the Flyers are at for the most part right now. But they're going to keep plugging away at it. That's for sure. Michkov, it'd be interesting. Maybe I've heard others, former players who know a lot more about this than I do, talk about having it run through him along the hash mark, or even maybe from behind the net. Although those kind of power plays are pretty difficult to run. But
right.
If it's not working the way it is, maybe you try something like that. But again, that's way above my pay grade. I don't really know what needs to be done, but clearly the numbers would indicate something.
Okay. All right. So here we are now. We're at what? Game number 52 played. There's 30 games approximately left on the schedule. What do you think moving forward with the Flyers? We've got the trade deadline coming up here real soon. Um, we've already seen Danny Briere make some moves already with clearing 7.1 million off of the cap with moving Frost and others. Do you think there's going to be some more moves, or I mean, what do you think here with moving forward with the Flyers moving forward?
Well, I think there's going to be moves if they find the right match. I don't think they're going to trade Rasmus Ristolainen or Scott Lawton without
Yeah,
getting a very favorable return. Now, the question would be, what is that favorable return going to be? Draft picks, more draft capital. They have a ton of it.
yeah,
Or are they looking to maybe acquire a young player or a prospect that's already been drafted? We'll see. It's hard to imagine them adding much more to next year's draft. They have what, 7 players in the top 2 rounds. It's
yeah,
a lot of players. So,
yeah.
I mean, there's a cap to that, I suppose. Maybe they're trading some of those to get a young player. Who knows? But Danny Briere is not the kind of guy who's just sitting idly by. He's checking all these things out, and we'll see where it goes. There are some intriguing names out there that are younger players, Dylan Cousins, Trevor Zegras, some others that maybe would still fit into the rebuild here. So we'll see where that goes, but it would be conjecture at this point. As for on ice, they've got, they're going to get Owen Tippett back. That's going to help. They're going to get Peltier in, see what Kuzmenko can do, and then go forward. It looks like Sam Harrison's going to be, ready to roll, which is good. And if they get decent goaltending, this team can be pretty good. Now, what does that do? It lowers their draft spot, probably. It lowers it in a bad way for those of you who want them to pick, 1, 2, 3 or whatever. A 5 or 6 game winning streak gets you right back into playoff contention in the East because that's the way it is. But it really, right now they have so many teams to jump over. It looks pretty dire as far as a playoff spot, but all year long it's looked dire. Then you get 3 or 4 or 5 wins in a row and it looks good, and then it's
Right.
just that kind of
It's
year.
that up and down. Yeah,
Well, the East is so tight, so
it is.
it's spread out a little bit here of late, but it's still pretty tight. And I think that playoff spot will be tough, but they come out of this break and win 3 or 4 in a row, they're right back in it. So it's just, that's the way it is in the East.
Okay. I mean, I've been kind of just zeroing in on like 90 points being kind of the benchmark of trying to make it into the playoffs for the East, and any semblance of close to that is what I think the Flyers are going to have to do to try to break into the second season.
It would take that. I think it might take more than that, given the way Detroit's played
Right.
lately. Ottawa went on a run. All these teams, even Montreal, though they sagged back, but they went on a run. The Islanders went on a run. So, I mean, Tampa was in the mix for a while. I think they're above that. I think they're in. But the Boston's going to have to scramble. Pittsburgh, the thing that's changed the dynamic here is Washington
Rangers.
is in.
Yeah.
For sure, right?
Yeah.
And they were supposed to be one of the teams the Flyers could maybe hop over to get in. That's not happening. And you mentioned the Rangers, who were expected to be up near where Washington is, and they're down. So they've kind of flip-flopped. I think the Rangers are one of those teams that could go on a 7 or 8 game winning streak in a flash and be right back in a good spot.
I think the Devils might be in that.
Devils might be, yeah. They
maybe the
Devils
Islanders
were handed by a lot of
Yeah.
people contender status. Without earning it, in my opinion. I mean, 2 years ago they were contenders. I get you, but their goaltending was better this year, Markstrom, and they were still starting to struggle. And then he got hurt, and now it's But yeah, I mean, I think the Devils are a playoff team this year, but I can't say that 100% for sure anymore. But I think they are. Carolina seems pretty well set, but then after that, there's a lot of teams battling for those 2 wild cards. So you see where it goes. But I'm never one to completely give up on that until it looks completely out of it. It's getting close, but
Yeah.
again, if you get a 4 or 5 game winning streak right out of the break,
Yeah,
you're right
yeah.
back in it. So we'll see.
And that would be actually kind of nice because they've been on a kind of a bad bender leading up to the break. You know what I mean? Where they strung a bunch of losses together, to kind of get to where they are now. You know what I mean? And so it would be nice to see them come out of the break and string a couple wins together. Just for why not? Just to put some wins together. Make the team
Well,
feel
if you're
decent
building
because
the culture, you don't want to build a culture around a consistently losing
right,
atmosphere. It's tough to do that. You need
exactly,
to experience meaningful games, and the Flyers are going to have to win some games right out of the break to make these games late in the season meaningful. And if
exactly.
they don't, I think you're looking more at trading out and accumulating more assets because again, the long-term look is the rebuild, and it's always Danny, Jonesy, Dan Hilverty, they've all talked about it. It's about being consistently excellent down the road, not about sneaking into the playoffs now and being out next year and all that. So, given that mindset and where they are now, you would think that the moves that would be made would be for the long-term future. But they've also always said, both Danny and Jonesy, that the players tell us what to do by how they play. So if they do go on a winning streak, that would be the players saying, "Hey, we got a chance," and I think they'd react accordingly. Last year they had a chance; they were in the playoffs for a long part of
Over
the
100 days
season.
straight.
Yeah, 142 days, I believe. And so, I mean, they even with that traded Sean Walker. So again, they're still keeping their eye on the long term, no matter what. But they also brought in Eric Johnson and tried to at least supplement the team to help them down the stretch. They got hit with a rash of injuries on defense, and Sam kind of tired out, so it didn't work out for them. But the bottom line is if this team was in it with some kind of winning streak, and I mean in it solidly, not 5 points back with 6 teams to jump over. I'm talking in it by being a point back or in a playoff position. And the trade deadline hit, then maybe that would change. The trade deadline is going to hit before they have a chance to get that close. I think not that many games when you look at the
No,
schedule
you're right.
into the trade deadline. So it's quite likely that this team will be looking like they're on the outside looking in at the trade deadline, and that has to at least impact the way they think a little bit.
Okay. Okay. All right. I mean, I wanted to get your take on some of those key points there, and I mean, this is the guy that is the voice of the
What
Philadelphia
are there,
Flyers.
like 5? I haven't counted the amount of games there are before the trade deadline. It's what, 5 or 6, I think.
Something like that, I think, because
So
the trade
yeah,
deadline's like right at the beginning of March, right? It's like
yeah.
March 3rd or something.
I think it's a little bit later than that, but not much.
Okay.
I should have the date right on the tip of my tongue. But
Right.
bottom line is, it's
It's not very
you know,
long from
there's
now.
there's only a couple of games left in February, so
Well, that's what I mean. It's not very long from now. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So, okay. Jim, I think we're going to do something that we have never done.
that's scary.
We're going to have a show less than an hour.
Wow, look at that. Well, I do have a movie to go see, so that's a good thing. You know me, I watch all the Oscar movies before the Oscars.
Okay, so what are you going to go see tonight?
Well, I haven't seen Nickel Boy yet, so that's one. And I also have to see The Brutalist yet. So
Okay.
there's a couple left, but I've seen most of them now. I've seen
Okay.
8 of
All
the
right.
10. So
I'm not quite up to quite up to speed on all the movies just yet, but
there are some strange ones.
I'm sure there are. But all right.
Check out
well,
The Substance. Tell me what you think about that movie.
Okay. All right.
Demi Moore. It's Demi Moore.
Okay. Okay. All right. Like I said, I'm not up on all the latest movies.
Yeah. I'd love to get your reaction to that movie, actually.
On which one?
The Substance.
The Substance. All right.
Yeah. Check it out.
I'll check it out. I'll check it out, and I'll let you know. Will that work?
Yeah, I'd love to hear
right.
your reaction to that movie. It's interesting.
Okay, and this is the one with Demi Moore in it, right?
Yes.
All right. Okay. I'll check it out and let you know. All right.
I look forward to that review.
I'm scared now. Just to let you know, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, Jim, I'll tell you what, it's been another huge honor and privilege and pleasure to sit here and just jaw with you and talk hockey and talk things that are near and dear to your heart, like your broadcasting school and, of course, Alex's Lemonade Stand. All those links will be in the description down here below, and be sure to check both of those out. So, um, Jim, thank you very much, man, for hopping on here with me. Really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
You got it.
The substance, remember, the substance.
Substance. All right. I got it written down. I'm gonna write. I got it written down. I'm gonna because Jim taught me always be over 100% prepared, because you never know what you're gonna need when you get into a situation. You might only use 10% of it.
That's right.
Right. But
you don't know which 10%.
But you better have at least 110% of material, because you never know when that 5 overtime game is going to happen.
That's right. And part of your 10% that you are going to use is going to see the substance.
Okay. All right. I got you. I heard it. I get the message. I get it. Oh, man. Thank you to Mr. Jim Jackson for hopping on to the Hockey Writers Inc. Really appreciate you joining the show. If you like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out lowercaseblues.net. That's lowercaseblues.net. Them guys were gracious enough to give us the wonderful opening intro music. Go check them out. They got tour dates. They got swag. They got videos out there. Check them guys out. Really awesome stuff. Also, be looking forward to a special announcement coming up for the NHL draft, where the SteelFlyers All Sports Network just might be. So be sure to be looking for that information coming out here real soon. Be looking for all the links there for Jim Jackson's school and also for Alex's Lemonade Stand. Thank you all for joining us on this special edition of the Hockey Writers Inc. as we welcome Jim Jackson, the voice of the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm your host, Ron SteelFlyers, and we will catch you all in the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.